You're watching RT from Moscow, and the main news story this hour: a jet carrying a triple champion Russian ice hockey team has crashed in flames near the runway in the city of Yaroslavl, 270 kilometers northeast of Moscow. At this stage, it's thought there are only 2 survivors among the 45 people on board at the time. RT's Anissa Nawi is near the crash site for us to bring us the latest all night tonight. Anissa, a very good evening to you again. Within the last hour, what more do you know?
Well, the number of bodies found has now reached 35. Nevertheless, it's getting very dark here, and that, of course, is hampering the search for the rest of those bodies. The latest information we have is that specialists are coming from Moscow with lights and special underwater equipment to help search for those remaining bodies. Pictures here you can see of this crash as it happened this afternoon here in Yaroslavl. Flames. We're hearing several different stories about how this could have happened. One of them, of course, is human factor. That's always the case in plane crashes like this. Another one is possible technical failure. We know that the plane had trouble gaining altitude and then hit some kind of antenna or some other kind of object. Different people and different witnesses are saying different stories of how it happened. One of the people we spoke to described how it was very clear that the plane was tilting to the right in the air, and he heard some very loud crashes. We spoke, in fact, to several witnesses and also some fans, as of course this almost entire hockey team was wiped out in this terrible tragedy. Let's listen to what they had to say.
We heard a plane take off, so we told our granddaughter, "Look, there's going to be an airplane." Then I heard a bang, and my daughter told me, "Mom, it's falling down to the side." Then came the flames and the smoke, and we wanted to run away, but we didn't know where to run. Then we went to the river and saw the plane. Lokomotiv is my home team. We supported it. We loved this team, and we were shocked when we found out. We went to all of their games, knew all of them by name. It's very difficult.
Just to bring you up to date on the numbers that are coming in and slowly being confirmed. 45 people on board, like you said, 43 of them confirmed dead, 2 survivors. We're getting conflicting reports about forward Alexander Galimov. We heard earlier that he was sent straight to the hospital, had 80% of his body covered in burns, was in very critical condition. Then we heard rumors that it was possible that he had died, and now his doctors are saying that they cannot confirm that. So it's still not clear how many survivors will really make it out of this terrible tragedy.
Maybe just a little bit of good news coming through tonight, then we do keep our fingers crossed that he will pull through here. Now, as you say, it is getting late. Investigators also, as you say, will be working through the night. Now, that plane, or 2/3 of it anyway, crashed into a river, the mighty Volga River. Can you just describe for us how deep the river is there? We saw the tail, or part of the fuselage, sticking out on fire. How close to the airport was that? What is that area like? Can you just try and paint a picture of where this plane went down?
Of course, yeah. It's not very far from the airport. The airport itself is about a kilometer away, I would say. We couldn't get as close to it as we would have liked to. The crash site is just behind us here. Again, very difficult to get in there. We were able to film some of the pictures, and what I saw was, I mean, the Volga it's a huge river. Part of the plane is, thank God, closer to the bank, because really, as the search was going on, if you think about the time span, it's it happened around 5 o'clock that this happened, and already 35 bodies of the 43 that were killed were found, and that's some pretty impressive work when you think about it. And it's difficult to search for bodies in water, and like I said, now it's getting dark and cold. So really, thoughts with these investigators and emergency teams that will be working certainly throughout the night to find the rest of those bodies. The officials that we've spoken to are very determined to get this done by at least morning.
Yeah, as ever, when these terrible incidents happen, it's an awful job that they have to do to try and retrieve the bodies and try and find out what went wrong. And of course, thoughts already turning to that. This was an aging model, ex-Soviet plane. Nonetheless, even though it was an old plane, many of the experts we've had on saying, although it's an old plane, if it's well serviced, it's still going to be airworthy. What are the theories about what could have gone so badly wrong here?
Well, that's the thing. I've also been hearing from different experts and investigators that the Yak-42 is a pretty reliable plane. There have been several incidents over the last decade or so, but we do know that the Prosecutor General has halted all flights of Yak-42s until they figure out what went wrong. Also, the airport that was in charge of this chartered flight also being investigated to know what exactly went wrong. Maybe some technical checks were not done. Overall, though, we're hearing a pretty reliable plane. Again, the human factor always comes into question in plane crashes like this. But if you take into consideration the officials that we've had a chance to speak to, it does seem like they're leaning towards technical failure. But of course, we can't confirm that yet. It's still very early into this investigation.
I mean, again, we heard an eyewitness report just now. There's another woman saying she lives nearby, and she was walking down the road at the time with her family. She heard a series of loud crashes, looked up and saw a plane dive to the ground. Earlier, a policeman said he saw it basically almost not take off. Just as it took off, he saw big flames as high as a 9-story building. Also, early details that it could have hit an antenna at the airfield. Do we know any more about that?
Yes, I heard the same thing. One of the witnesses we spoke to, that's exactly how he described it. Basically, it looked early on through his eyes that something was wrong. He said the plane was tilting to the right, and then it did hit. He used the word antenna, and then went on to fall into the Volga River. But again, a lot of people saw this crash from different points. We've spoken to a lot of witnesses. Everyone has a little bit of a different version, and that, of course, complicates things. Overall, though, this is a small town. It's very modern, very European. But this town is going to be, the city I should say, is in shock. And really I think the rest of the country, we saw some incredible pictures coming in from Ufa, where of course another match was meant to be held as the KHL season opens here in Russia, and that was cancelled. But the pictures of these fans just devastated by this tragedy, really amazing. And of course Yaroslavl just crushed by this tragedy. The Global Policy Forum, of course, taking place. A lot of that is going to be cancelled tomorrow. We already know that President Dmitry Medvedev will be making his way to the crash site himself to pay respects.
Thank you very much for now bringing us up to date with what you know. And this now, they're a correspondent on the scene tonight at this unfolding disaster. Thank you.